Welcome to the Beau Show. This week in Miami, Florida, I attended the National Conservatism Conference, or what they call NatCon for short. It is the third conference that they have held, and it's a bit different from the more established, larger conservative political action conference. This is a much more intimate conference, and is perhaps less rah-rah and more cerebral and policy-oriented. For instance, I watched billionaire founder of PayPal, Peter Thiel, talk about the big tech curse, which has positively affected California and Silicon Valley's economy, but yet California has a massive wealth distribution problem, which has caused unlivable conditions for its residents. They have bled residents, whereas Florida and Texas have gained residents. He quoted the 16th century philosopher Jean Baudin, who said, "Men of a fat and fertile soil are most commonly effeminate and cowards, whereas contrariwise, a barren country makes men temperate by necessity, and by consequence, careful, vigilant, and industrious." Other speakers at this conference included Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Josh Hawley, and Senator Rick Scott of Florida. I thought it would be a good time to check back in with Senator Scott about his 12-point plan that he introduced earlier this year, and the vision that he and other conservatives have to change problems such as inflation. Here is Senator Rick Scott. Senator Rick Scott, thank you so much for joining me here today at the National Conservatism Conference. Senator, I devoted a whole episode of my show to your 12-point plan called Rick Scott to the Rescue. Can you tell me why you put that out?
We've got to rescue this country. The radical left controls almost every part of our government now. We've got to have a plan to turn this country around. I'm a business guy. You turn things around by having a plan, and you work your plan every day, and that's what we've got to do. We've been blessed. We've had close to 300,000 people download the plan. We've had thousands of comments back. I think we ought to be fighting over what we're going to do to change this country. I believe we're going to get a majority back in November. Now, after we win, what are we going to do?
Peter Thiel spoke earlier, and he said that he thought that Republicans were kind of running on a plan of just being anti-woke, that there was no legislative agenda, but you have put out this plan. Are you the only one that is trying to put out a real legislative agenda to turn America around?
Well, I think it's important. I think all of our candidates ought to be putting out plans, and I did when I was governor. In my first governor's race, I had a plan to turn the economy around. It was the biggest issue in Florida at the time. Florida was in deep financial trouble at the time, so I put out a plan how we're going to do it, and we did it. I think that's exactly what we ought to be doing, and every candidate ought to be doing it.
Tell me this. I know that you were originally a donut shop owner, correct? That was your first business. You've gone from donut shop owner to senator of Florida and governor, of course. Is the American dream still alive for people? And if so, are regulations strangling that ability?
Well, I'm blessed. I was born to a single mom. We lived in public housing growing up. I do have an adopted father who was a wonderful person. My parents struggled for money, but my mom told me I could be anything, and that's why I want to try to make sure it continues to happen. We have way too much regulation. The permitting is ridiculous. The attitude government has at almost every level is they're anti-business, and so who's it hurt? It hurts the poorest families trying to get started, trying to start a business. I don't remember having to get any permits when I opened the donut shop. I don't remember getting one. Today, it would take you months, it seems like, to just open up a simple a business like that. So I did a variety of businesses in healthcare and in manufacturing, and I think what government's doing is they're strangling the opportunity to live the dream of this country, which that you can be anything.
Senator, Joe Biden recently made a speech for the soul of America. I want to know what your reaction to that speech was and whether you think it was smart to demonize half the country.
Oh, clearly it was what he did. I think you should call it the raving lunatic speech. I mean, the backdrop first was horrible. He had the Marines behind him. He ought to get rid of the Marines next time and bring in some armed IRS agents, because that's what he just signed off a bill that's going to add 87,000 more IRS agents to go harass Americans all across this country. So I think it's a horrible speech. I hope he goes all around the country and gives a speech, because what it's going to show is exactly what the Democrats are. The Democrats don't believe you should have the rights you should have. The Democrats have vilified Republicans or conservatives or people that believe in the dream of this country. So I hope he goes all across the country, and I hope every Democrat stands up there with him while he's giving that raving lunatic speech.
President Biden also spoke about, or at least he tried to speak about, this fissure between establishment Republicans and MAGA Republicans. Do you see that fissure, and do you think that it's possible that that's his only hope to split the party up so they'll vote Democrat?
You know, when I go around the country and I go around my state, what I hear is people that want to live the dream. They said, you know, we're tired of inflation. We want job opportunities. We want a great education system for our kids. We want to be safe. That's what I hear. I don't hear people saying I'm at this party or that party. They say, this is what I care for my family.
My final question to you, because I know you have to go speak, we're at the National Conservatism Conference. What conservative policies, if you could give me, I know you had a 12-point plan, a top 3 right now that could really make a difference in this country come midterms 2022?
So number one, we've got to stop inflation. We have to stop inflation. Number two, people got to get back to work. I don't believe you ought to be on government programs if you're able-bodied unless you're going back to work. You get back to work. We need to make sure we have school choice so parents can pick whatever they want, and we need to fund the police. They're the good guys. The criminals are the bad guys.
Well, Senator Scott, thank you as always for stopping by. It's always enlightening. Thank you for sharing your time.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you, sir. While Senator Scott represents one generation of conservatism, I also spoke with a member of a new generation of conservatism, Amber Athey. Amber has worked for the Daily Caller and currently works as the Washington editor of The Spectator. Amber has a great deal of insight into the legacy media machine and how it works. And she's also a victim of cancel culture. She has a message for what conservatives can do if they want to change the way things are. Here is Amber Athey. Amber, thanks so much for joining me today. We're here at the National Conservatism Conference, and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Amber, many conservative ideas are being floated throughout this conference in the next few days, and I'm curious, which ideas do you think have the most resonance as we head into the 2022 midterms and beyond?
Well, I really loved what Governor Ron DeSantis said last night about free markets, and specifically, he talked about the fact that free markets cannot be an end in and of themselves. They have to be oriented towards a common good. If the free market outcome, and actually Senator Marco Rubio talked about this morning as well, if free markets are not allowing people to flourish, if they're not helping to keep families strong and communities strong, then they're not serving the American people and they're not serving our national interest. And so I think conservatives really tend to shudder at the idea of manipulating markets or even questioning the idea of a free market. But there has to be a way that we can exercise power from the federal government to make sure that if market outcomes are not leading to the national interest, then we can make sure to sort of reorient the way that the money is flowing or the way people are spending their money to help reach good outcomes for Americans.
Yeah, DeSantis' speech I thought was great, and he really touched on so many things that he's been able to do in Florida that other governors seem to not have either thought about or been able to do. You'll be speaking here at this conference about how to cripple the left-wing media machine. So if you can, lay out for me how you think that can be done.
Absolutely. Well, I've been a victim of being canceled by left-wing media actors, and
Me too.
Yes. I mean, most of us who have spoken up at some point or another have been canceled. So first of all, I think the important thing is that conservatives have to stand up for each other. And I found that too often in the past when someone is canceled, other conservatives around them will say, well, I don't want to be canceled, or I don't want to be associated with someone who is toxic, so I'm not going to vocally stand up for them. And they'll send private DMs or private messages of support telling you how much they're rooting for you. But all of that is kind of meaningless if we don't have the same community and group of power that people on the left are able to do. And there's so many more conservatives and rational people who believe in the things that we believe than people who believe in what the woke mob believes. And yet somehow we've allowed this vocal minority to really control the way that people are allowed to participate in society. And then second, this is an action for government officials. On the media. And this is something as a journalist that has always really bothered me, is that Republicans and conservatives, for whatever reason, know that the media hates them, know that they've been treated unfairly by the media, yet in so many cases keep running back for approval from the left-wing media. Trump was someone who did this, and it drove me absolutely crazy. And I liked the guy. I liked a lot of his policies. But why on earth is he talking to Bob Woodward for his third book after he got totally bamboozled the first couple of times? Why are his administration officials leaking breaking news and scoops to the New York Times or the Washington Post? These media outlets have proven that they cannot operate fairly, and so they have to be cut off. We have to start going to friendly outlets. And I don't mean friendly as in, repeats everything you say,
right,
but friendly as in fair.
Fair, like Epoch and NTD.